As in all martial art systems, calisthenics, body conditioning, flexibility, and naturalness of movement is of great importance. Cartwheels, rollouts are a very important aspect of the art form which we call ninjutsu, since we at any given time will be forced to react under given conditions. So as a result, we cover all angles of body movements, which comes under the heading of ukemi, break falling techniques and rolling out techniques. Also in noting the flexible type of stretching exercises, which must be practiced before a regular practice session, and which will involve the individual student stretching the upper and lower limbs to its maximum. And as you may note, it takes a great deal of effort to maintain some of these positions. This also develops strength in the body and flexibility in the body of the student. These angular stretching exercises can be done from any given position, and of course require a practice before the body becomes conditioned to these sometime unnatural postures of the body. The ability of the student to actually walk from various angles is also stressed and practiced in ninjutsu, since there will be times when the human body will be called upon to perform very taxing task under stressful conditions. One should be able to crawl, walk in a reverse manner on both hands and feet, even to the point of rolling from one position to the other. In the log rolling type of exercise, these evolve ultimately into attack and defensive postures. Since in ninjutsu we learn how to move from any angle from any position, attack and defend from any given position. Not neglecting ground fighting techniques, which are very important in all type of combat, since the individual ninja practitioner may never know when he may have to fight from the ground up. Stretching exercises are important in developing the muscular system, the body, and also to teach the student how to discipline himself or herself to accept and deal with various levels of physical pain. The exercises of jumping up and down in either a stationary position or from mobile or moving position is important for reflex training, flexibility, and flexibility of the individual practitioner. And in Jitsu, one may be required to utilize the body in various forms and to perform demanding tasks to bring about a means of survival.
Ronald. Next man, go.
We practice these breakfall or ukemis on either tatami or soft-made mats while within inside a training hall or dojo. However, when training under uncontrolled and natural surroundings, these falls must be executed with the same precision on the hard or natural solid surface as executed on the mat in the dojo. We also practice for the purpose of developing stealth movements, imitating various animals such as the snake, the lizard, or the crab, to crawl from one position to another, either under indoor training conditions or outdoor training conditions. The body movements of Tai Savaki demands that the individual ninja practitioner be able to move at any given time under various conditions, whether anticipated or whether the attacks are sudden. So therefore the flexibility of natural circular movements. All martial arts movements are based on the principles of the universe and the universal components. Taken for instance, the sun within our solar systems and the planets which evolve around the sun. Also taking into consideration that the planet Earth has a moon that evolves around it. So therefore, all that's involved in ninjutsu is based upon the natural order of nature. The utilizing of the various weapons in ninjutsu are merely an extension of what the individual can do with his or her body in either an attacking or defending mode. Various of the weapons that come under the heading of Kobudo or Kobujitsu are used for the purpose of individual survival. These can range from a fan to natural branches of a tree. For instance, the use of the knife, the twin knives in Tanto Jitsu, a means of close quarter combat. Knife, one of the deadliest weapons known to man, once mastered and in the hands of a skilled practitioner, still remains one of the deadliest methods of close quarter combat, even to this date. The knife can be used singularly, meaning one knife against an attacker or multiple attackers, or twin knives. In continuing with the bladed weapons, we have the variation of a kusari gama, which means a sickle and chain. And this particular version of this ancient weapon is geared towards from close quarter to intermediate combat when one is attacked by singular or multiple attackers, either armed or unarmed, with either stick or bladed weapons, not to be used against an opponent or opponent armed with missile type weapons such as firearms. The purpose of utilizing this weapon combatively is for offsetting, ensnaring, trapping, strangling, tripping, throwing, and ultimately inflicting injury to the opponent through slashing or stabbing. Another version of the bladed weapon, an extension of the knife, or the twin acorn sickle, which are very highly effective and flexible weapons, and has the advantage of providing the individual practitioner with a high level of speed. They become an extension of what the individual can do with the empty-handed technique, and must be utilized in conjunction with the body movements, the natural body movements of evading an attack and moving one's body out of the line of attack. The shobos, which are a combination weapon of a throwing dart, which is the shakang, and a stick, which is a bow, is combined for the purpose of also blocking, throwing, stabbing the opponent. The miniaturized tonfa techniques are used for blocking an opponent's attack, be it attacks with the lower extremities or the upper extremities, meaning kicking or punches, used for the purpose of blocking, creating pain to the attacking or offending limbs, to create fracture, sprain, or breakage, or strangulation ultimately. The twin rakes, basically garden tools, are used again in the same manner as the tonfa, and the shobos are used, and the twin knives. We can note that it's a mere continuation of what the empty hand can do, and one must follow through with those principles in utilizing all of the ninja weapons of combat and close quarter combat. We have what is known here as the sickle and chain. Note the length of these chains can vary from 3 feet to 12 feet, and when practiced continuously and gaining the degree of control, they can be used for the purpose of off-balancing or ensnaring an attacker at greater ranges than the more traditional chain sickle weapons. We have the options here of strangling the attacker, again ensnaring the attacker, neutralizing the attacker, striking or cutting off the circulation of blood throughout the nervous system, and ultimately to stab the attacker and ultimately bring about serious injury or death. In this instance, as we can note, the bow staff is used against the sickle chain, and if you note the body movements, you'll note that there aren't any changes in the format of Tai Jitsu, which means body shifting or body action, or Tai Sawaki, which can also be called Wajitsu movements. In utilizing the various stick weapons, we noted that the single individual utilizing a simple cane or walking stick utilizes the same principle as used in practice in all of the major form of bow, Jitsu fighting or stick fighting techniques. This walking cane give added advantage is that it can be a deceitful, deceptive weapon, and it can also inflict great pain on an attacker or multiple attackers, armed or unarmed. Utilizing the blocking, shifting, and counteracting moves as with all of the previously mentioned weapons. For instance, we have weapons which are combination stick bladed weapons, in which Yari Jutsu or spear fighting is one of them. In this instance, what is utilized here is a collapsible spear which collapses from a greater length to an intermediate length and ultimately into a double or twin sectional weapon of combat, which will consist of a stick and the remaining tip of the spear. Other combination of stick blade weapons will fall into the sickle category, whereas they can be used singularly or in pairs, with or without the chain. When the chain is attached to these weapons, one must be careful as to practice to develop a very high level of control in wielding these chains, since without the proper training, injury can occur to the individual that's wielding the chain sickle type weapons. So hours of practice is highly recommended, and safety at all times should be the prime influence in learning these weapons. The shorter handheld weapons, which are within 6 to 7 inches in length, or what are known as finger handheld stick weapons, or yubi bow. Yubi meaning the finger and the bow meaning the stick. For instance, a more modernistic version of these weapons, as you may observe in this film, are made out of very strong aluminum and are commonly mistakenly called yawara sticks, but the proper pronunciation should be vajra or yubiwo techniques. Utilize singularly or in pair and are aimed against the nerve centers, vital areas of the attacker to bring about submission, to create pain, sprain, fractures, or ultimately to discourage the opponent from any future plans of attack. There are times when one must be able to attack and defend from any position, be it either from the ground or from a tree. There is a saying that a ninja should learn to attack from any position, also defend from any position. These techniques again should be practiced diligently and intelligently, since we never know when we may be attacked, since an attacker or attackers may never give indication of what will take place, and these attacks are never prearranged. Clearing the mind, unifying the mind, the spirit, and the body, becoming once again our individual and natural selves, showing our natural faces as intended to be, as part of nature. We learn how to give ourselves to our Creator. become one with the nature by harnessing our energies, focusing our concentration. The art form of Kuji-in or Kuji-kiri, which has very deep roots in India, plays a very strong part and is of extreme dominance in all of existing martial art form, however, more so highlighted by the practice of ninjutsu. It teaches us how to control our fear, how to calm our minds, our souls, how to focus our energies and gain mastery over ourselves by being understanding and being in harmony of our natural selves, creatures of nature, creatures of the universe. These principles once applied to any particular physical aspect of combat, be it empty-handed combat or combat utilizing symbolic, traditional or contemporary or modern weapons, should bring about similar beneficial results. Another method of training which is highly recommended and is a virtual must for a serious ninja practitioner is the use of the bladed weapon known as the sword. In this instance, the sword that is being used is of Japanese influence. It is a sword which has a single cutting edge and is called universally or commonly a katana. Now with the katana, it has been said that this is the soul or spirit of the warrior. And as stated before, symbolically, it is a strong focus point of energies, concentration of the individual practitioner, an expression of self-discipline, self-control. Self-discipline and self-control which is naturally acquired through the serious study of martial arts and specifically ninjutsu. The ritualistic use of the sword has various benefits. The greatest benefit of all is the teaching of humility to oneself. To this day, the sword remains the symbolic weapon of the practitioner of Shinobi no Jitsu, commonly known as ninjutsu. The ritual of showing respect through the various bowing and formal postures is also of utmost importance when practicing these art forms of these specific origins. The quick draw technique known as the Ido, which you've previously seen, done in slow format, will now be applied in combative situation. For the sake and purpose of text presentation, these techniques, which are being applied with live blades, are being performed at moderate speed with a high level of control. These actual combative movements, when performed by multiple individuals, are also designed to be performed by the individual practitioner without the benefit of a training partner. It has been said that there is always two sides of a coin in combat. This phase of training which involves the disarming of an armed opponent is the reverse of the coin. One must always bear in mind that being a master of movement, the master of the body, is an extension of mastery of the mind. And one also is taught in ninjutsu is that through gaining a high level of proficiency with combative weapons, one is not complete or totally in the warrior spirit if we do not learn how to defend ourselves when called upon to do so on the various forms at any given time against these very same weapons. So therefore, we have basically two sides of the coin. Realizing that we never know when an attacker is going to attack, we train in our training halls to master the basics, fundamental, and specifics of disarming techniques. These techniques, despite the fact that they should become automatic, they should not be stagnant and mechanical. They must be absorbed and blended in with our natural movement. Remember, a ninja learned to defend from any given position without warning at any given time. There comes a time when an individual may find his or herself in a situation where multiple attackers, armed or unarmed, may decide to attack. I must caution, it is never easy to disarm a knife-wielding opponent who is intent on doing harm. So therefore, we must realistically approach the level of training known as disarming technique. An attack can come from any angle at any given time, and not arranged or prearranged as shown on this film for training purposes. The presentation in this film is geared towards teaching the basics. Unless one devotes intelligent time to seriously practicing these techniques, whether sparring, empty-handed self-defense, attack defense, weaponry, stealth maneuvering, disarming techniques, the techniques must be practiced continuously and arduously until they become second nature. In dealing with firearms, again, it is a very simplistic matter to discuss disarming technique in textbook fashion. We must realize that the man disarmed with the gun, with the weapon, has all of the advantage in the world. If you find yourself in a situation where you are looking down the barrel of a gun, if there is a chance that your life is not threatened,